His mouth is on her neck, teeth grazing the pulse point, and Amina knows she should push him away. Luca Morello is a killer. She has the photographs to prove it. But right now, pressed against the cold stone wall of a Venetian palazzo, with his hands sliding beneath her shirt, she can't remember why that matters. "Tell me to stop," he whispers against her skin, and it sounds like a prayer, like he's begging her to save him from himself, from them. But instead, she pulls him closer, and they both fall into the dangerous space between hatred and desire. 3 weeks ago, he kidnapped her. Now she's choosing to stay. Amina has been documenting Lombard Romanesque architecture for 3 months now, building her thesis one careful photograph at a time. The light in San Ambrogio at this hour is absolutely perfect. Golden rays cut through ancient windows, illuminating 12 centuries of sacred geometry. She paid the custodian €200 for private after-hours access because she needs the basilica empty to capture the pure interplay of shadow and stone without tourists cluttering her compositions. She's on her knees adjusting her telephoto lens, focused on a crumbling fresco in the side chapel, when she hears them. Footsteps on marble, echoing through the vast sacred space, voices speaking Italian too rapidly and too quietly to understand from this distance. Her first reaction is simple annoyance because she paid good money for privacy. Her second reaction, when she registers the tension in those voices, is instinctive fear. Through her camera's viewfinder, she sees them before they see her. 3 men in expensive suits that look completely wrong in this ancient church. 2 are obvious muscle with bulk that speaks of violence as profession. The third man is different. Younger, maybe early 30s, with the kind of face that belongs in Renaissance paintings. Dark hair, sharp features, and an expression of cold calculation that makes her breath catch even from 50 feet away. Then, the violence erupts so suddenly she almost misses capturing it. The man in the center, older and pleading in rapid Italian, tries to run toward the crypt entrance. The beautiful man moves with practiced efficiency that's terrifying in its casualness. One shot from a suppressed pistol, barely audible but definitely not silent in this sacred acoustic space. The older man crumples to 1,200-year-old marble, blood spreading in a widening pool that looks obscene against the pale stone. And Amina's camera, still set on continuous shooting mode from her earlier architectural work, captures everything. Click, 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 the sequence of death preserved in digital perfection. The sound is barely audible over the ringing aftermath of the gunshot, but in the terrible silence that follows violence, it's enough. The beautiful killer's head turns with predatory precision toward her hiding spot behind the stone column. Their eyes meet across the empty basilica, and she sees the exact moment he registers the camera, the telephoto lens, the irrefutable evidence she's just created. His expression doesn't change, but something shifts in his posture. Recognition, assessment, decision. Amina runs. She abandons her tripod, clutches only her camera body, and sprints toward the side exit that leads to the cloister. Her research obsession with this building's layout becomes literal life-saving knowledge. Behind her, she hears rapid footsteps and orders barked in sharp Italian. Her heart hammers so violently against her ribs, she's amazed it doesn't shatter through bone. She crashes through the wooden side door into fading afternoon light and doesn't stop running. Milan's streets are crowded at this hour, thank God. Tourists and locals create a river of humanity she can disappear into. She runs without thinking beyond the animal imperative to escape, to survive, to put distance between herself and the man with death in his eyes and blood on his hands. She doesn't stop until she reaches the Duomo metro station, descending into the underground on shaking legs. Only when she's safely on a train heading toward Porta Venezia does she let herself look at her camera's display screen. The images are there, crystal clear in their horror. The murder sequence. The killer's face captured in perfect focus as he turned toward a shaft of light, evidence that could destroy someone powerful. Because Amina recognizes him now that her panic is subsiding enough for rational thought. She's seen that face in newspapers, at university galas where wealthy donors gather, in the society pages of Milano Finanza. Luca Morello, heir to the Morello family empire. His family owns half of Milan's prime real estate, controls shipping routes throughout the Mediterranean, funds university research programs and cultural institutions. They're old money, the kind of wealth that's been accumulating for generations. They're also, if the whispered rumors among international students are even partially true, one of Italy's most sophisticated criminal organizations. The Morellos didn't get rich through shipping and real estate alone. They got rich through violence and control, then laundered that blood money into legitimate respectability. And she just photographed the heir apparent committing cold-blooded murder in a 1,200-year-old basilica. In her tiny apartment in Porta Venezia, Amina paces between her kitchenette and her single window overlooking the street below. Her roommate Elena is visiting family in Rome for the week, leaving Amina alone with the most dangerous evidence of her entire life and absolutely no idea what to do with it. Calling the police isn't an option. She's learned enough about Italian bureaucracy and corruption to know that. She's an international student from South Sudan on a precarious scholarship visa. Getting involved with authorities means endless questions, investigations that could take months, potential deportation. While everything gets sorted, everything she's built here over 3 years of desperate work could evaporate because she was in the wrong place at the wrong time. But keeping the evidence means she's a witness to murder, a liability to people who clearly solve their problems with extreme violence. She should delete the photos right now, destroy the memory card, smash it with a hammer, pretend this afternoon never happened, and pray that he didn't get a good enough look at her face to track her down. But as she connects her camera to her laptop, her hands moving almost without conscious decision, she finds herself creating backups instead of deletions, cloud storage, external hard drive, email drafts saved to her account. She tells herself it's just insurance, just protection in case they come after her, but really it's something deeper. That man died on sacred ground. Someone should answer for that. Someone should face consequences for turning a place of ancient beauty into a crime scene. The knock on her door at 11 p.m. makes her jump so violently she nearly drops her laptop. Amina Dung. The voice from the hallway is male, accented but educated, calm in a way that's somehow more terrifying than aggression would be. Please open the door. We need to discuss what you saw this afternoon. Her blood turns to actual ice in her veins. It's been 7 hours since Sant'Ambrogio. 7 hours and they've already found her. Found her name, her address, mapped her complete lack of protection or escape routes. "I'm calling the police," she shouts toward the door, voice shaking badly enough that the threat sounds hollow, even to her own ears. "No, you're not." The voice remains perfectly calm, almost gentle. "Because if you were going to call the police, you would have done it immediately after witnessing the incident. Instead, you came home, you backed up those photographs to multiple locations, including cloud storage, and now you're trying to decide whether you're brave enough or foolish enough to actually be a witness. Please don't make me damage your door, Ms. Dung. I'd much rather have this conversation like civilized people." She stares at her phone in her hand, at the laptop screen showing thumbnails of the murder sequence, at the window that's 3 stories up with no fire escape, and a drop that would likely kill her as efficiently as a bullet. She has no good options, only choices between different kinds of danger. Amina opens the door. Luca Morello looks somehow different up close in her tiny apartment than he did through her telephoto lens committing murder. Less like a cold killer, and more like an exhausted man carrying impossible weight. He's changed out of the blood-spattered suit into dark jeans and a leather jacket that makes him look younger, less like a mafia heir and more like a dangerous graduate student. 2 large men flank him in the narrow hallway, but he waves them back with casual authority and enters her small space alone. "Are you going to invite me to sit? Or shall we conduct this negotiation with you pressed against the wall, looking like you're about to faint?" he asks. And there's something almost kind in his tone despite the circumstances. Amina forces herself to stop backing away and gestures stiffly toward her single armchair. He sits, looking absurdly elegant in her shabby furniture, and his eyes scan her apartment with quick assessment. The architecture books scattered across every surface, the sketches and photographs pinned to the walls. The single framed photo of her family back in Juba before the Civil War destroyed everything. He picks up her thesis draft from the small table, flipping through pages with what appears to be genuine interest rather than threat assessment. Lombard Romanesque sacred geometry, the intersection of faith and mathematical proportion in medieval northern Italy. "You're at Politecnico di Milano?" How did you find me? Her voice comes out steadier than she feels, which she counts as a minor victory. Your camera has GPS tracking enabled. Your student ID was in your bag at the Basilica, which you left behind when you ran. From there, accessing university registration records, visa paperwork, and current address took my people approximately 30 minutes. He sets down the thesis carefully, almost respectfully. You're alone in Milan, no family in Italy, no close relatives anywhere that our research could find. Your roommate is currently in Rome. You have no boyfriend, limited friend circle mostly consisting of other international students who generally mind their own business. You are, from a strategic perspective, isolated and vulnerable. And now you're a witness to something that could start a very dangerous war. So you're here to kill me. She's surprised by how calm she sounds saying it out loud. If I wanted you dead, Miss Dung, we wouldn't be having this conversation. You would have been struck by a car on your way home this evening, or you'd be discovered tomorrow morning with a tragic apparent drug overdose, or you'd simply vanish like unfortunately too many international students who get involved in situations beyond their understanding. He leans forward slightly, elbows on his knees, and his gaze is direct and disturbingly honest. I'm here because I need to understand what you plan to do with those photographs, and because I need you to understand the actual situation you've stumbled into. The situation where you murdered someone in a church? The situation where I executed a traitor who was actively betraying my family to our enemies? Yes. But more specifically, the situation where you weren't supposed to be there at all. He pulls out his phone and shows her something. Security footage from San Ambrosio's exterior, time-stamped from 20 minutes before her scheduled access time. A man in maintenance uniform enters through a service door, and though the image quality makes his face unclear, Luca zooms in on a vital, distinctive scar visible on the man's hand. That's not regular cathedral staff. That's one of my cousin Marco's people. Marco paid your custodian, Ms. Deng, paid him substantially more than your 200 euros to ensure that a student researcher would have access to the Basilica at exactly the time my meeting was scheduled. Someone wanted a witness to what happened. Someone engineered your presence there specifically to create exactly this situation. Amina's mind races, trying to process this new information. Why would your cousin want me to witness a murder? Because he's positioning himself to take control of family operations, and I'm the primary obstacle. If I'd reacted as expected and killed you immediately to eliminate the witness, he'd have evidence of my recklessness and instability. If I'd let you go, you'd become a weapon he could activate whenever convenient by tipping off authorities or rival families. Either way, I'd be compromised during the most vulnerable period of our family's generational transition. You, Ms. Dung, were supposed to be the tool that removes me from succession. That's insane. That's my family. We've been killing each other over power and money since before Italy was a unified country. This is just the latest variation on a very old theme. He sits back, and something in his posture shifts from intimidating to almost vulnerable. I need your cooperation, Amina. Temporary and compensated cooperation. I need time to trace back Marco's full plan, to understand if you're the only manufactured witness or if there are other traps I haven't detected yet. I need to neutralize him before he uses you as a weapon against me or simply kills you to create chaos. In exchange, I'll keep you safe, pay you well for your time and trouble, and when this is resolved, you'll walk away with your degree, your life, and enough money to pursue your research anywhere in the world. You're asking me to voluntarily stay close to you, to the man I watched commit murder. I'm asking you to accept protection from the people who set you up as a pawn in a family war. You don't understand. Marco doesn't care about your innocence or your morality. If he decides you're more valuable dead than alive, he'll kill you and frame me for it. If he decides you're useful as leverage, he'll kidnap you and use you to force my hand. Either way, you're in active danger until I eliminate him as a threat. I can only protect you effectively if I know where you are and can control your exposure to danger. And I'm just supposed to trust you? A man who kills people? No. You're supposed to trust that my self-interest aligns perfectly with keeping you alive and safe right now. I can't afford for Marco to have any access to you or those photographs. So I need you somewhere I can guarantee your security and ensure that evidence doesn't surface until I'm ready to use it strategically against him. Amina looks at her laptop displaying the murder sequence. She thinks about her mother, who died fleeing civil war violence in South Sudan, about her father, who stayed behind to fight and disappeared into the chaos, probably dead for years now, about how she promised herself after surviving refugee camps and rebuilding her entire life that she'd never again be trapped in someone else's violent conflict. But she's already trapped. The moment her camera's shutter clicked, she became part of this, whether she wanted to be or not. "What exactly are you proposing?" she asks carefully. "You come with me tonight, not as a prisoner. You'll have freedom of movement, communication access, everything you need to continue your life and studies. But you stay in a location where I can guarantee your safety from Marco and anyone else who might target you. We work together to understand his conspiracy, and when we have enough evidence, we use your photographs strategically to destroy him before he destroys us. And if I refuse, then I leave, and you take your chances alone. Maybe Marco decides you're not worth the trouble. Maybe he doesn't even know you exist yet. Or maybe tomorrow or next week or next month, you end up dead in a way that looks like accident or random violence. No one except us will know it was an execution. You'll spend however long you survive looking over your shoulder, and statistically, that won't be very long. It's a devil's bargain presented with brutal honesty. Stay close to a killer or gamble alone against an organization that's perfected violence over generations." Amina thinks about the Veronese fresco she photographed last month at San Sebastiano, the way the artist created an illusion of infinite space within a strictly limited canvas. Sometimes the only way forward is to accept your constraints and work strategically within them. "I want this in writing," she says firmly. "Formal contract, timeline, compensation terms, what happens to my photographs, protection guarantees, all of it documented." For the first time, Luca smiles, and it transforms his face from intimidating to almost human. "You're considerably smarter than I initially gave you credit for. Giovanni." He calls toward the door, and one of his men enters carrying a sleek laptop. "Draft a standard protective custody agreement, 5-month maximum duration, €100,000 compensation, plus all reasonable expenses, mutual non-disclosure clauses, and return of all photographic evidence upon successful resolution of the family security situation. I want the photographs in encrypted third-party storage with dual authorization access required," Amina adds, finding courage in the fact that he's actually negotiating rather than just taking what he wants. "Insurance that you don't decide I'm expendable once Marco is handled." Luca considers this, then nods with what looks like genuine respect. "Agreed. But the storage location is disclosed to me, and any access requires authorization from both of us. I need assurance that those images can't surface without my knowledge or approval." "That's fair," Giovanni types with impressive speed, prints on a portable printer, and hands Amina a formal contract. She reads every word carefully. The legalese dense, but the core terms clear enough. She's agreeing to protective custody under Luca Morello's authority for up to 5 months. In exchange, she receives substantial payment, guaranteed safety, and release with clean identity when it's over. She signs. He signs. Giovanni witnesses with the date and time. "Welcome to protective custody, Ms. Dung," Luca says, and there's irony in his voice that suggests he understands exactly how bizarre this entire situation is. "Pack whatever you need for extended stay. We're leaving within the hour." "Where are we going?" "Venice. I maintain a property there that's secure and off my family's primary radar. You'll be comfortable, and more importantly, you'll be safe while we work to end this situation. Bring your research materials, your laptop, anything you need to continue your thesis work. This doesn't have to completely derail your life, just temporarily relocate it." As Amina packs a bag with shaking hands, the surreal nature of what's happening threatens to overwhelm her. 72 hours ago, her biggest concern was getting proper permission to photograph Sant'Apollinare in Ravenna. Now she's entering protective custody with a mafia heir, bound by contract to a man who kills people, gambling her survival on his self-interest, aligning with keeping her alive. When they leave her apartment building, a sleek black Mercedes waits at the curb. Giovanni opens the rear door for her with surprising courtesy, and she slides into leather seats that probably cost more than her entire year's living expenses. Luca sits beside her, And as they pull into Milan's nighttime traffic, he speaks quietly. For what it's worth, I'm sorry you got dragged into this. You're collateral damage in a conflict that has nothing to do with you. That's not fair, and I know it. But I promise you this, I will keep you safe. Whatever else happens, you will survive this situation intact. You have my word. Amina doesn't respond because she's not sure his word means anything at all. But as Milan disappears behind them and they head toward Venice, and whatever comes next, she clings to one small truth. She made a choice. Maybe it was a choice between bad options with no good alternatives, but it was still her decision. She signed that contract voluntarily. She's entering this bizarre arrangement with eyes open. That agency, however limited, matters. It's the difference between victim and survivor, and Amina has survived too much already to stop now. They arrive in Venice just as dawn breaks over the lagoon, turning the water to liquid gold. The city emerges from darkness like a beautiful ghost, all crumbling palaces and impossible architecture rising from the sea. Amina has been to Venice twice before for research, but never like this. Arriving by private water taxi through canals still empty of tourists, approaching a palazzo that doesn't appear on any map. The building is wedged between two tourist hotels, its entrance so unmarked you'd pass it 100 times without noticing. But inside, it's magnificent. 16th century frescoes cover the ceilings, though some are crumbling and water damaged. Murano glass chandeliers hang in the main salon with half their crystals missing. Antique furniture sits beneath dust sheets. It's a palace frozen in time, slowly decaying into the lagoon like Venice itself. The third floor is yours, Luca tells her, leading her up a marble staircase worn smooth by 500 years of footsteps. 3 bedrooms, private bathroom, sitting room with Grand Canal view, doors locked from the inside. I meant what I said about you not being a prisoner, but the exterior doors have security systems. If you try to leave without informing me, alarms trigger and my security team responds. For your protection, not my control. The difference matters. The distinction feels thin when you're exhausted and scared, but Amina is too tired to argue. He shows her to a bedroom larger than her entire Milan apartment. The bed is antique, but made up with clearly new linens. A wardrobe stands open, displaying clothes in approximately her size. Jeans, sweaters, basic necessities that someone obviously just purchased and placed here. Giovanni's sister Sofia is a personal stylist. She estimated based on security footage from Sant'Ambrogio. If anything doesn't fit or you need something specific, there's a phone and list by the bed. Food, books, research materials, whatever you need to be comfortable while we sort this out. This doesn't have to be prison, Amina. It can just be a temporary relocation with very good security. You prepared all this before talking to me, she realizes. You knew I'd agree to come. I knew you were smart enough to recognize a survivable bad option versus an unsurvivable one. That's not manipulation. That's just understanding human rationality under pressure. He moves toward the door, then pauses. For whatever it's worth, I meant what I said earlier. You're not a prisoner. This situation is dangerous for both of us, but I'm not interested in making it worse by treating you like property. We're temporary associates in the mutual project of staying alive. Try to rest. We'll talk more this afternoon. After he leaves, Amina locks her door from the inside, testing that it actually works, that he's telling the truth about this one small thing. The lock engages smoothly. She's alone in this beautiful room with actual privacy. She should feel relieved. Instead, she feels numb. She unpacks mechanically, hangs up the clothes that fit disturbingly well, and then stands at the window watching dawn fully arrive over the Grand Canal. She thinks about her mother's last words before dying in that refugee camp 14 years ago. Survive first. Decide what it cost you later. Amina is surviving. She made a choice that keeps her alive and gives her some agency in an impossible situation. But standing in this palazzo owned by a killer, watching Venice wake up below her, she wonders what the final cost will be when all this is over. For the first 3 days, Luca maintains careful distance. He's businesslike and professional, bringing her meals personally, checking that she has everything needed, but keeping interactions brief and focused. He's constantly on phone calls speaking rapid Italian, managing family business from this Venetian sanctuary. She's clearly just one item on his crisis management list. But on the fourth day, she finds him in the palazzo's library, surrounded by financial documents and looking exhausted in a way that makes him seem more human than dangerous. "Can't sleep either?" he asks when she enters, not surprised by her presence at 2 in the morning. Strange bed, strange city, strange situation where I'm cooperating with someone who murders people. Take your pick. He actually laughs, and the sound is unexpected. "Fair assessment. Wine." He gestures to a bottle of something that probably costs more than her monthly rent. "I find insomnia is slightly more tolerable with good Barolo." She should refuse, should maintain clear boundaries between captive and captor. But something about the loneliness of 2 a.m. in a foreign city makes her accept the glass he pours. They talk for hours. He asks about her research, and she finds herself explaining sacred geometry and Romanesque architecture with genuine passion, forgetting temporarily that her audience is a criminal. He listens with real interest, asking intelligent questions about proportion systems and liturgical space. He tells her about studying art history at Bocconi before his father pulled him into family operations, about his grandmother who collected Renaissance paintings and believed the Morello family could transition from violence to cultural preservation, about the moment he realized that dream was impossible and he'd spend his life managing the same brutal empire his father built. "My grandmother used to say the family was cursed," Luca admits as the wine bottle empties, "that Morellos fall in love once, completely, and it either saves us or destroys us. She loved my grandfather and tried to save him from this life. It destroyed their marriage and eventually killed her spirit. My father loved my mother and let this life destroy her directly. She died in a car bombing meant for him when I was 12. And now I'm 32, and I've successfully avoided falling in love with anyone because I've seen how that story ends for people like us. Maybe the curse is just what happens when you try to love someone while living a violent life," Amina suggests. "Maybe it's not fate, just consequences." Probably. But consequences and fate look pretty similar when you're drowning in both. The conversation feels dangerous in its intimacy, breaking down walls that should stay firmly in place. But at 4 a.m. in a Venetian palazzo, exhaustion and wine and strange circumstances make normal boundaries feel less important than human connection. When Amina finally goes back to her room, she realizes something troubling. She's starting to see Luca Morello as a person instead of just a threat, and that might be more dangerous than anything else. They fall into an unexpected routine. Mornings working together on investigating Marco's conspiracy, reviewing financial records, analyzing communication patterns, building the case against him. Afternoons apart, Luca handling family business while Amina works on her thesis, trying to maintain normalcy. Evenings often together, conversations ranging from architecture to philosophy to the mechanisms of organized crime. Luca is educated in ways she didn't expect. He talks about Tintoretto's religious paintings with genuine passion. He understands architectural theory well enough to critique her thesis arguments intelligently. He exists in this strange space between cultured intellectual and casual killer, and the contradiction fascinates her against her better judgment. "How do you do it?" she asks one evening as they walk through quiet Venetian streets where nobody knows who he is. "Kill someone and then come home and discuss Renaissance art like it's a normal day?" He's quiet for a long time before answering. "I compartmentalize. The violence is one box, the rest of my life is another box, and I try to keep them separated. It doesn't always work. Sometimes I'll be looking at a Carpaccio painting and suddenly remember someone I killed, and the beauty feels obscene. But mostly I just exist in both worlds simultaneously. Monster and art lover. Killer and almost curator. I don't expect you to understand it. I barely understand it myself. I understand it better than you think. I've seen violence, lost people to it, survived by learning to function despite trauma. The specifics are different, but the psychological mechanism, living split between horror and normalcy, that part I understand." He looks at her with something that might be gratitude. "You're the first person who's ever said that and meant it. Most people in my world either embrace the violence completely or pretend it doesn't exist. Nobody acknowledges living in both realities at once. The physical attraction that's been building since that first midnight conversation finally becomes undeniable. The way his hand lingers on her back, guiding her through doorways, how she catches herself watching him work, appreciating the capable grace of his movements, the electricity when they accidentally brush against each other in the palazzo's narrow corridors. On day 8, she finds him on the Altana rooftop terrace at sunset, and the tension finally snaps. "Tell me to stop," he says as he cups her face, giving her every chance to refuse, to maintain boundaries. "Tell me this is wrong and we shouldn't, and I'll walk away right now." But Amina doesn't say stop. She rises on her toes and kisses him first, choosing this dangerous thing with full awareness of how complicated it makes everything. They don't make love that night, both pulling back before it goes that far, some instinct saying they need more certainty before crossing that final line. But they kiss for hours on the Altana under Venetian stars, and it feels like falling and flying simultaneously. When they finally separate, foreheads pressed together, breathing hard, Luca whispers, "This is incredibly stupid." "Catastrophically stupid," Amina agrees. "We should stop." "We absolutely should." Neither of them moves to stop, but reality intrudes on their bubble of attraction. Giovanni calls with intelligence that Marco's conspiracy goes deeper than anticipated. He's not just positioning himself for succession, he's been in contact with the Calabrian families, offering them access to Morello territories in exchange for support in removing Luca. "It's worse than a coup," Luca explains to Amina as they review the evidence Giovanni compiled. "It's betrayal that could trigger actual war between families. If Marco succeeds, dozens of people die in the resulting violence. And if I move against him too aggressively without proof that satisfies the family council, they'll see me as the destabilizer. Your photographs are important, but they're not enough by themselves. I need comprehensive evidence of his conspiracy." They spend days building that evidence together. Amina applies her research skills to tracking financial patterns. Her outsider perspective helps spot anomalies that someone immersed in this world might miss. She becomes genuinely invested in stopping Marco, not just for her own safety, but because she's seen enough violence in her life to want to prevent more. Working closely together intensifies their growing connection. Late nights reviewing documents, celebrating small breakthroughs with stolen kisses, falling asleep on the library couch with her head on his shoulder and his arms around her. It stops feeling like captor and captive, starts feeling dangerously like partners. "I need to tell you something," Luca says one night after they've made significant progress tracing Marco's communications. "When this is over, when Marco is dealt with and you're safe to leave, I'm going to miss you. Not just because you're helping with this investigation. I'm going to miss talking to you at 2 a.m. about things that matter. Miss having someone who sees me as a person instead of just a position or a threat. And I know that's unfair to say given the power dynamics of this situation, but I needed you to know. Whatever happens, you've changed something fundamental in me." Amina knows she should be cautious, should remember that intensity in captivity isn't the same as genuine love. But she also knows her own heart, and it's already more involved than strategy would recommend. "When this is over," she says carefully, "and I'm actually free to choose without coercion or fear, ask me then how I feel. Give me real freedom to decide if this is real or just trauma, bonding, and circumstance. Can you do that?" "Yes, I can give you that. Time, space, actual freedom. And then if you choose to walk away, I'll respect it, even if it kills me." 2 days later, everything changes. Marco's people are spotted in Venice surveilling the palazzo. The safe haven has been compromised, and they need to return to Milan to end this before Marco makes his move. The temporary peace of their Venetian bubble is over. Now comes the actual war. They return to Milan under cover of darkness, entering the family compound in Brera like soldiers returning from leave to find the war still raging. The compound is a fortress, centuries-old walls upgraded with modern security that would make a government facility envious. Beautiful and brutal simultaneously. Luca installs Amina in the East Wing with a dedicated security team led by Giovanni, who's proven himself trustworthy over their Venice weeks. But the atmosphere is completely different from the palazzo's isolation. Here, family members and associates constantly come and go. Everyone knows about her now, The witness, the woman Luca brought under protection, the civilian who's become entangled in succession politics. You'll face questions and judgment, Sophia warns her during their first meeting. She's Luca's cousin, the family's legitimate art dealer, and one of the few women with real power in this male-dominated world. The old guard sees you as weakness and foreign contamination. The younger generation sees you as evidence that Luca's different from his father, which some love and some hate. Navigate carefully. The family council meeting happens within 24 hours of their return. Luca presents his evidence against Marco to 12 seated members. Uncles, cousins, senior lieutenants, the people who actually control family operations beyond just nominal leadership. It's a performance as much as presentation, every word calculated for strategic effect. Amina sits against the wall, deliberately positioned to be seen but not central. She's wearing clothes Sophia selected, expensive enough to signal protection, but modest enough not to presume. Every detail telegraphing her role here. Luca walks them through Marco's conspiracy with devastating precision. Financial records showing Calabrian payments, communication logs proving ongoing betrayal, the custodian's testimony about being paid to create a witness situation. And finally, Amina's photographs, not just of Paolo's execution, but annotated to show Marco's man visible in the background, proving the setup. My cousin attempted to manufacture a crisis that would destabilize family leadership during our most vulnerable succession period, Luca concludes. He's been actively working with our rivals, offering them access to our territories in exchange for support against me. The question isn't whether he's betrayed us. The question is what we do about it. Marco, seated across the table, has been silent throughout. Now he speaks, voice calm and measured. My cousin tells a compelling story, but notice what he carefully avoids, the fact that he's been hiding in Venice with a civilian witness instead of managing family business in Milan. The fact that he's brought her here to a family council meeting, exposing her to faces and information that should remain confidential. He talks about my destabilization, but who's really destabilizing the family? Me for investigating his recklessness, or him for prioritizing a woman over family interests? He looks directly at Amina with a smile that makes her skin crawl. Tell me, Ms. Dong, do you feel protected, or do you feel trapped? Every eye in the room turns to her. This is the moment that will define everything. How she answers this question in front of the people who hold her fate. Amina thinks about all of Luca's careful coaching, all the strategic framing. But she also thinks about the truth of her situation, complex and contradictory as it is. I feel both, she says clearly. Protected from being murdered by you, Mr. Morello, which seems likely given you manufactured my presence at San Ambrogio specifically to create this crisis. And trapped in a situation I never chose because your family politics decided I was useful as a pawn in a succession fight. But between being under Luca's protection and being your disposable witness, I'll choose protection every single time. Sophia actually laughs out loud. She's got more spine than half the men in this room. I like her. But Dante, Luca's uncle and the senior family member present, isn't amused. This is exactly the problem. We now have a civilian, a foreign national, sitting in a family council meeting discussing internal security matters. Regardless of who created the situation, we need to address the current reality. She's a liability who knows too much and has evidence that could destroy us all. Then let's discuss how to neutralize that liability, Luca says, and something in his tone makes the room go very quiet. The council debates for hours. Some argue for eliminating Amina as the cleanest solution to end her as a threat. Some argue for permanent protection under strict controls. Some just want this entire messy situation to disappear. Finally, Dante calls for votes. First on Marco, 7 votes for exile based on the conspiracy evidence. Not unanimous, but enough. Marco will be stripped of family position and forced out of Italy. Then, they vote on Amina's fate. 3 council members vote for elimination as security protocol. 7 vote for continued protection under conditions. She remains under Luca's control. The photographs go into family custody, and she's bound by non-disclosure agreements with lethal enforcement clauses. Then it's decided, Dante announces. Marco, you have 48 hours to liquidate accessible assets and leave Italy. Ms. Dung, you remain under Luca's protection, but understand this. You now know who we are and how we operate. That knowledge makes you permanently connected to this family, whether you like it or not. If you ever become a threat, if those photos surface publicly, if you speak to authorities, if you do anything to endanger family interests, the vote that spared you tonight will be revisited immediately. Are we absolutely clear? Amina's mouth is dry with terror, but she forces herself to meet Dante's eyes. Completely clear. Good. This council is concluded. As the room empties, Marco approaches before Giovanni can intercept him. He leans close enough that only Amina hears. This isn't over. You think you're safe because you chose Luca's protection? You just made yourself a permanent target. Every enemy he has is now your enemy too. Every rival who wants his position will see you as leverage. You traded immediate danger for a lifetime of it. Sweet dreams, Ms. Dung. Then he's gone, escorted out by Dante's people, and Amina is left shaking with the full weight of what just happened crashing down. She's alive. She's protected. She's also trapped in this violent world forever now, her fate bound to Luca's and the family's in ways that can never be undone. When Luca approaches, reading the devastation on her face, she stops him before he can speak. You knew this would happen, that staying alive meant becoming permanently entangled, that there's no temporary protection, just permanent ownership. You knew, and you brought me here anyway. I brought you here because the alternative was voting for your death. Given those options, I'll take you hating me and alive over you forgiving me, and dead every single time. How noble. You didn't save my life, Luca. You conscripted it into your world. There's a difference. She walks out before the tears can start, before he can see how completely he's trapped her, despite all his promises of respecting her agency. Behind her, she hears Sophia's quiet voice. You love her, don't you? And Luca's response, barely audible. Doesn't matter. She'll never forgive me for this. Marco leaves Milan within the deadline, but his exit is strategic rather than defeated. Intelligence suggests he's gone south, possibly to Sicily, building new alliances and planning his return. Exile doesn't mean surrender for someone like Marco Morello. Amina spends a week barely speaking to Luca beyond necessary interactions. She works on her thesis obsessively, trying to maintain some piece of her identity that isn't defined by this family's violence. But she's living in the compound, eating at their table, surrounded by their world every waking moment. The tension finally breaks when Giovanni is nearly killed in an assassination attempt, Marco's people hitting back, trying to eliminate Luca's most trusted lieutenant. The attack happens in broad daylight outside a restaurant, professional and nearly successful. Giovanni survives only because his body armor stops one bullet and luck deflects another from killing him instantly. At the hospital where Giovanni lies in critical condition, Luca finally breaks down. Not crying. Men like him have had tears trained out of them since childhood, but the careful control shatters. Amina finds him in a private waiting room with his head in his hands, looking more lost than she's ever seen him. This is what loving me means, he says without looking up. Good people getting hurt. Giovanni took those bullets because he was protecting me. My mother died in a car meant for my father. Everyone close to us becomes a target. And I brought you into this world anyway because I'm selfish enough to want you here, even knowing what it costs. Despite her anger, despite feeling betrayed by how this ended, Amina sits beside him. Giovanni knew the risks. This is his profession, his choice. You don't get to take responsibility for every consequence of the life you were born into. Don't I? At some point, staying in this life instead of finding a way out becomes a choice. I could have walked away years ago, taken money and disappeared, let my uncle or Marco or someone else fight over family control. But I didn't because I wanted the power, wanted to prove I could lead, wanted to be my father's worthy heir. And those choices have consequences that hurt everyone around me, including you. It's the most honest he's ever been about his complicity in this life. Not just a victim of circumstance, but an active participant who chose power over alternatives. So change it, Amina says quietly. You're the heir. You have power. Use it to actually change how this family operates instead of just managing the same violence more efficiently. You think it's that simple? No, I think it's incredibly difficult and maybe impossible. But I think you're smart enough and powerful enough that if you actually committed to evolving this organization toward legitimacy, you could make real progress over years. The question is whether you're brave enough to try. Giovanni survives surgery, recovers slowly over the following weeks, and while he heals, Luca and Amina navigate their complicated new reality. Not quite enemies, but not quite partners, bound together by circumstances neither fully chose, but both must survive. Marco doesn't stay in exile quietly. Over 3 weeks, 5 of Luca's associates die in carefully orchestrated accidents. A warehouse fire in Bergamo kills 2. A car crash in Como eliminates another. The violence is surgical and devastating, sending a clear message. Marco is building a counteroffensive, and distance won't protect anyone connected to Luca. Luca responds with equal calculated brutality. Marco's remaining Milan associates start disappearing or dying. The conflict escalates from exile enforcement to actual shadow war, and the body count rises steadily. Amina watches this unfold from her beautiful prison in the compound, where security keeps her safe by keeping her confined. She sees Luca progressively less. He's constantly in motion, coordinating operations, meeting with loyalists, building defenses against Marco's assault. When they do interact, he looks increasingly hollowed out. The weight of managing violence, the people dying in his name, the continuous calculations of who lives and who dies, it's visibly consuming him. The man who discussed Renaissance art with passion in Venice is disappearing under layers of strategic brutality. "You're becoming exactly what you said you didn't want to be," Amina tells him during one of their brief encounters. "Your father's weapon, just violence in response to violence. I'm doing what's necessary to keep us alive. Are you? Or are you doing what's comfortable because it's the only language you really speak? There are other ways to end this, Luca. Ways that don't involve a body count. Name one. Going to authorities. Exposing Marco's conspiracy to federal prosecutors, using legitimate law enforcement instead of just killing everyone who threatens you." He laughs bitterly. "You still don't understand this world. Authorities don't protect people like us, they just occasionally prosecute us when we become inconvenient. Going to police means destroying the family, which makes me a traitor worse than Marco. Everyone connected to us ends up in prison or dead, including you with those photographs. That's not a solution, that's suicide. Then walk away. Actually walk away this time instead of just talking about it as impossible. Take me, take Giovanni, take anyone who wants out and disappear. Let your family destroy itself without you. And Marco kills us all within a month because we'd be vulnerable outside family protection. I've tried explaining this. There's no exit from this life that doesn't end in death. The only choice is whether you die running or die fighting." That's not true. You just believe it is because accepting an alternative would mean admitting you chose this, that you're staying because you want power, not because you're trapped. The argument escalates into their worst fight yet. Luca accusing Amina of naive idealism about escaping violence. Amina accusing Luca of using family obligation as an excuse for not changing, both saying things designed to wound and succeeding. "Maybe I should have let Marco kill you that first night," Luca finally says, immediately regretting it but unable to take it back. "Would have been cleaner than this slow-motion disaster where you hate me for keeping you alive." Amina goes very still. "Get out. Get out of my room and don't come back until you remember that I'm a person with agency, not a problem you're managing or a possession you're protecting. I'm done being your project." He leaves, and they don't speak for days. The attack comes during that silence when tensions between Luca and Amina are worst, and the compound security has relaxed slightly after weeks of high alert. 6 men, military-trained professionals, simultaneous breaches at 3 entry points during evening hours. They've studied the compound's patterns, identified the gaps, and timed their assault for maximum chaos. Alarms blare, gunfire erupts. The fortress becomes a war zone in seconds. Giovanni, still recovering from his earlier injuries, reaches Amina first and pulls her from her room into a secured corridor. "Stay behind me. Panic room is 2 floors down." They don't make it. One of Marco's professionals intercepts them on the stairwell, a man with dead eyes and efficient movements who engages Giovanni without hesitation. Giovanni fights back, buying seconds with his still healing body, shouting at Amina to run. She runs, stumbling through corridors she's learned over these weeks, heading toward the main house where Luca should be. Behind her, the sounds of violence, impacts, shots, the terrible noises of people trying to kill each other. She finds Luca in his office, barricaded behind his desk with 2 security personnel, coordinating defense via radio. His face when he sees her, pure relief mixed with terror. "You're supposed to be in the panic room," he says, even as he's pulling her behind the makeshift cover. "Giovanni was getting me there. I don't know if he..." Her voice breaks. "He'll be fine. Giovanni is the best I have." But Luca's expression says he's not sure he believes his own reassurance. The firefight lasts 17 terrible minutes. When silence finally falls, 3 of Marco's men are dead, 2 escaped, and 1 is captured alive for interrogation. Casualties on Luca's side: 3 security personnel wounded, 1 critically. And Giovanni, emergency surgery needed, 3 new gunshot wounds, touch and go. Marco himself wasn't with the assault team. This was just a message. "I can reach you anytime. No one is safe." In the aftermath, sitting in Luca's office while security teams clean up and investigators process the scene, Amina realizes she's covered in blood. Not hers, Giovanni's, from those seconds when he pushed her toward safety before engaging their attacker. Her hands shake as she tries to wipe it off, but it just smears. "I need to see him," she says. "Giovanni, he's hurt because of me. He's hurt because Marco is a psychopath who won't accept consequences. This isn't about you." But Luca's voice is hollow. They go to the private medical facility the family maintains for exactly these situations. Giovanni is in surgery when they arrive. The doctor gives updates every hour, critical but stable. Too early to know long-term damage. He might not survive the night. Amina and Luca wait in a private room, not touching, barely speaking. Around dawn, Sofia arrives with coffee. Neither of them can drink and news from the captured attacker's interrogation. "Marco's working with the Calabrians as we suspected," Sofia reports quietly. "They funded this assault in exchange for promises of future cooperation when Marco takes control. He's planning a full coup attempt, not just exile revenge. This was just the opening move." "Then we end it," Luca says, and something in his voice is final. "No more defensive posture. We find Marco, eliminate the threat permanently, and finish this before more people die." "That means war," Sofia warns. "Full-scale conflict with the Calabrians and anyone else he's allied with. The body count will be significant." "The body count is already significant. Giovanni is in there with 3 bullets in him because I waited too long to neutralize Marco. That ends now." After Sofia leaves, Amina finally speaks. "This is what I didn't understand back in Venice. You said you couldn't walk away because violence would follow you. I thought you meant you were trapped by tradition, but you meant this, that leaving doesn't end anything. Marco would have kept coming. Other rivals would have seen opportunity. The violence follows you whether you participate or not." "Yes, exactly that. So I might as well participate from a position of strength rather than vulnerability. That's the only real choice." "So you're going to escalate to full war, kill however many people it takes, because that's what survival requires in your world?" "Yes." Amina looks at him. This man she's been trapped with for weeks now. This man who's shown her tenderness and controlled her autonomy in equal measure. "Then I can't stay. Not because I'm in danger, though I am, but because I can't watch you become the thing you hate. I've seen who you could be, Luca. The man who talks about art like it matters, who tries to be better than his circumstances. But if you do this, if you embrace full-scale violence as your solution, that person dies. And I can't watch that. So what are you saying?" "I'm saying our contract is fulfilled. You've kept me alive, paid as agreed, provided protection through the immediate crisis, but I want out. Safe exit, new identity, whatever you need to arrange to let me disappear from your world. We end this before it destroys us both." Luca's face goes through several emotions before settling on cold calculation. "No." "Excuse me?" "No. You can't leave now, with Marco actively hunting us and the situation this volatile. You leave, you die within a week. I'm not allowing that." "You're not allowing it?" "I'm not your property, Luca. I'm not your hostage. I'm a person with agency making the choice that staying is worse than the risk of leaving. And I'm making the choice that your safety matters more than your agency right now. We've had this fight before. You know how I prioritize. The betrayal is complete. After everything, all the promises, all the careful negotiation of boundaries, all the claims about respecting her autonomy, he's back to control and ownership when it actually matters. Then you're exactly what I thought you were in that church, Amina says, voice flat with devastation. A man who takes what he wants and calls it protection. I'm done pretending you're anything else. She tries to leave, gets to the medical facility lobby before his security detail stops her, not violently, but firmly, blocking her exit, preventing her from leaving. When she turns back, Luca is standing at the corridor entrance. I'm sorry, he says, and sounds like he means it. But you're staying, under protection, until Marco is dead and this situation is resolved. That's not negotiable. Then I'm your prisoner again. After everything, that's what this comes down to. You're alive, and as long as I have anything to say about it, you'll stay that way. Hate me if you need to, but you'll do it alive. He walks away, leaving her in the lobby with security personnel who've transformed from protectors to jailers in the space of one conversation. And Amina understands with terrible clarity that she was never actually free, not since Sant'Ambrogio. All the rest, Venice, the conversations, the romance, was just a prettier cage. The underlying reality was always control. She just let herself forget it for a while. The war Luca promised happened swiftly and brutally. Over 1 week, the conflict between Morello and Marco's Calabrian-backed forces reaches its peak. Violence spills into the streets, not civilian-facing. The families are too sophisticated for that. But targeted strikes against associates, safe houses burning, strategic eliminates that thin both sides' resources. Amina watches from her confinement in the compound's east wing, where she's kept safe by being kept captive. She sees Luca only in passing. He's constantly in motion, managing operations, meeting with loyalists. Each time their paths cross, he looks progressively more hollowed out. Giovanni survives his surgery but remains unconscious for days. When he finally wakes, weak and intubated, the first person he asks for is Luca. Then, surprisingly, Amina. You should leave, Giovanni tells her in a voice made rough by the breathing tube they just removed. When this is over, if he gives you the chance, leave. Go somewhere he'll never find you. Build the life you wanted. He cares enough about you that he might actually let you go if you demand it clearly enough. He's already said no. I'm trapped here. He said no in the crisis. Try again when it's over. He's not his father, Ms. Dung. He wants to be better. He just doesn't know how while still surviving this world. Maybe you leaving becomes the catalyst he needs to actually change. 3 days after Giovanni wakes, the situation shifts dramatically. Marco makes a mistake, tries to target Luca's legitimate art gallery operations, thinking they're soft targets. But Sofia runs those operations, and she's far from soft. The attack fails, and in the failure, Marco's location gets exposed. He's in an abandoned factory outside Turin with a small team, making plans for the next strike. Luca gets the intelligence and makes a decision. I'm going to meet him, he tells his assembled lieutenants. Neutral location, both principals, end this face-to-face before more people die. It's a trap, everyone says, including Amina when she overhears the planning. Probably, Luca agrees. But it's also an opportunity. Marco is getting desperate, making mistakes. If I can force a confrontation now, I can end this before it drags on for months. He insists Amina attend the meeting, not as leverage or bait, but because Marco demanded it as a condition. He wants to see the woman who cost him everything, and Luca can't refuse without looking weak. So she goes to an abandoned factory that reeks of trap and danger, because even as a prisoner, she apparently has obligations in this twisted world. The factory is exactly what she expects. Industrial decay, shadows hiding threats, harsh portable lights creating islands of visibility in vast darkness. Marco waits in the center with a Calabrian lieutenant named Carbone, looking confident and dangerous. The negotiation is theater, Marco proposing terms that sound reasonable but are neat. Luca countering with harsher demands. But Amina watches Carbone more than Marco, and she sees something wrong. He's too relaxed, keeps checking positions, waiting for something. "Luca," she says quietly, "we need to leave now." But before they can move, Marco pulls a detonator from his pocket. "You see, cousin, I didn't come to negotiate. I came to remove the obstacles to my succession, both obstacles at once." Then everything happens too fast. Luca moves to shield Amina. Giovanni's voice comes through Luca's earpiece, warning about additional armed men. Marco's perfect trap springs. Except Carbone draws his weapon and points it at Marco instead. "Change of plans, Morello," the Calabrian says calmly. "My family didn't fund your coup to watch suicide bombings and civilian murders. That's reckless chaos we don't want. So here's how this actually ends. You accept your exile with the terms Luca offered, or I put you down here as good faith to the Morellos that we're done with this conflict." Marco's betrayed by his own ally, his perfect trap turned against him. Luca could let Carbone handle it, but instead, he makes a different choice. "Lower your weapon, Carbone. Marco is family business, not yours." When the Calabrian complies and leaves, Luca turns to his cousin with the detonator. "You can keep fighting this, keep trying to kill me, keep destroying everything until we're both dead. Or you can take the exile I offered and actually leave. Build a life somewhere away from all this. Choose." Marco stares, unable to believe Luca is offering mercy after everything. Finally, he drops the detonator. "You're either brilliant or stupid, cousin." "Neither. Just tired of this life eating everyone I care about. Go. Get out of Italy. Don't come back." Marco leaves, escorted away by Sofia's team, and suddenly, Luca and Amina are alone in the empty factory. Violence averted, but nothing truly resolved. In the aftermath, Luca goes through with his promise to Amina from the factory. He comes to her room in the East Wing, and for the first time in weeks, he unlocks her door from the outside and leaves it open. "You can leave," he says simply. "New identity, financial support, complete freedom from the Morello family. I'll arrange everything. You'll be safe and free to build whatever life you want. Or you can stay, but only if you're choosing it genuinely, not because you're trapped or scared or feel obligated. I'm giving you the real choice I should have given you weeks ago." Amina looks at him, this man who's trapped and freed her in equal measure. "Why now? Why not before?" "Because I was scared before, scared of losing you, scared of what your choice might be, scared of having to face who I am without you here, reflecting back the possibility of being better. But I've realized something. Keeping you trapped makes me exactly the monster you saw in that church. Letting you go, truly, freely go, might be the only decent thing I've ever done." She takes 3 days to decide, walks through Milan during those days, visits her old apartment, meets with her thesis advisor. She has genuine freedom to leave now, resources to disappear, and knowing that changes everything. On the 3rd day, she comes back to the compound and finds Luca on the Altana rooftop, looking out over Milan. "I'll stay," she says, "but not as your prisoner or protected asset or any of the things I've been. I'm staying as a partner with agency and boundaries, and the absolute ability to leave if those terms aren't respected. I want a new contract, Luca, one that reflects actual partnership instead of gilded captivity." They draft that contract together over the following days. Clear boundaries, maintained independence. Amina keeps her own apartment, her own finances separate from family money, her own professional life independent of Morello operations. She's not owned, not controlled, not absorbed into the family structure. She's choosing connection while protecting her autonomy. "Why?" Luca asks as they finalize the terms. "After everything I've done, all the ways I've failed to respect your choices, why stay?" "Because I've seen who you could be, and I think with the right support and continued pressure to be better, you might actually become that person. Not immediately, not completely, but incrementally over time. That's worth staying for. As long as you keep actually trying instead of just talking about it." 6 months later, they're building something that looks almost functional. Luca has begun the slow process of transitioning family operations toward more legitimate business. It's glacial, resisted by traditionalists, and far from complete. But it's real change, not just rhetoric. Amina finishes her thesis and starts working with an architectural preservation firm, maintaining her independent identity while also being part of Luca's life on her terms. They're not fairy tale perfect. They argue about his business decisions when she thinks he's slipping. She maintains her own space and independence fiercely. But they're choosing each other continuously, day after day, building something honest from their terrible beginning. On the anniversary of Sant'Ambrogio, they return to the basilica, stand in the chapel where it all started, and the violence feels distant now. "Do you regret it?" Luca asks. "Everything that brought us here?" "I regret the parts where you didn't respect my autonomy," Amina answers honestly. "But where we ended up, what we're building now, no, I don't regret this." They leave the basilica together and drive through Milan toward whatever future they're constructing. Imperfect, complicated, occasionally dangerous, but genuinely theirs. Not a fairy tale ending, but a real negotiation between two people from impossible circumstances, finding ways to be together that respect who they are. It's not perfect, but it's real. And in a world built on violence and control, that reality might be the most revolutionary thing of all. This complete story delivers. Immediate steamy hook that grabs attention. Improved consent dynamics while maintaining dark romance tension. High suspense throughout all 5 acts. Complex character development, realistic resolution that doesn't erase the problematic beginning, easy to understand prose that still handles sophisticated themes.